I got nothing. I don't know jack shit about Teamo Supremo.
Teamo Supremo!
Teamo Supremo was a show, I guess, airing on ABC from 02 to 04 about 3 kid superheroes named Captain Crandall, Skate Lad, and Rope Girl who go up against various villains. I have never seen this show. I don't know if it has a fan base. I mean, reviews aren't great. All I know is that it has a Halloween episode.
This is Haunted House on Horror Hill. Okay, that cannot be what it's called. That's like a parody title of a movie characters are watching in a spooky episode.
Interesting piece of trivia, this episode was storyboarded by Dave Filoni, who created and or worked on pretty much every Star Wars show since Clone Wars. So all the kids are dressed up in the most generic costumes they could find, but Cap forgot to wear his costume. What kid would forget that?
Zach, I love Halloween. The costumes, the creeps, the creatures. It's almost a shame that none of it's real.
I'm pretty sure costumes and candy are real.
The kids act like he just said Santa isn't real.
You wouldn't say that if you went into the haunted house on Horror Hill.
Thanks, Bobby Hill, but I'm gonna have to reject your offer. The haunted house on Horror Hill, which honestly doesn't look that haunted, although it does remind me of when I was a kid and how we had certain houses in the city we thought were haunted.
Well, the house is pretty creepy.
Come on, you heard those stories? A friend, a garbage collector, an uncle's bowling buddy. These are reliable sources.
Okay, that was funny.
The kids are contacted by the governor,
I already have questions about how this state is run.
telling them to check out something at the haunted house on Horror Hill. They suit up and head off, finding an old man outside who tells them to stay away.
Help! Somebody please help! That voice is coming from inside the house.
Sounds like a little kid's in trouble. Let's roll.
Sir, you are legally responsible if anything happens to these kids now.
The animation on the backgrounds doesn't look finished. They find a little girl.
What's your problem?
I'm a little hungry.
For boys and girls!
Alright, that was also pretty funny.
Turns out she's a troll. Okay, and Cap uses a yo-yo, but it goes through it. Damn you yo-yo manufacturers! Cap thinks it's an illusion and they fall down a hole.
Whoa, this hole is huge. And I'm like, falling.
In the basement, they meet Bigfoot. Yeah, why not?
In here! Hide!
Bigfoot's a moron.
Of course, they run across a mummy and we get some Scooby-Doo shenanigans, except it feels a bit slow. Like, it's hard to describe, it just feels slower than it needs to be. Cap really doesn't believe in the monsters, but Bigfoot shows back up. And then Dracula. Or is it a zombie? I don't know.
To face your doom, kids!
Ah! Look at all those ghosts!
Are they ghosts of Klansmen?
There are jokes I could see working, but they go by so fast they aren't given time to actually set up the joke. So they leave.
I'm sorry I sent you kids in there.
I'm a terrible governor. Then he starts telling them about the cloaked skull. Shouldn't we have done this before they went in?
It's a shame that people are too scared to live there now.
Everyone's moving to Terror Boulevard.
Cap says they should go back, like a minute after leaving.
Maybe being a superhero means doing the right thing, even when you're scared.
I guess that's our moral. They go in and see the troll again.
Buzza!
Hey, we went right through him.
So, you've managed to avoid my ghoulish goblin.
Yeah, it was as easy as going through the Great Barrier in Star Trek V.
They go through the ghost too, but looks like Bigfoot is real. Cap trips it with some whatever these are, and it's revealed to be a robot. Feel a costume would have been easier and cheaper, but okay. They find a secret door, and inside they find a bunch of monsters.
Remember what we're dealing with here.
You mean banks?
Was that a problem with my copy, or was that a decision someone made?
Of course, we find out all the monsters are fake, and after some really intense action, they find the cloaked skull who has one more trick up his sleeve.
You are not excused. You are not excused. You are not excused.
Is that a joke I would get only if I watched the show? She's fake as well, and they capture the cloaked skull. So is it going to be the old guy from the beginning?
Nope, he's not me.
Oh. Then who was it?
Huh?
Who that?
Well, it's some real estate developer who wanted to build dinner theaters on Horror Hill.
And I would have gotten away with it too, if it weren't for those meddling kids.
Don't try and parody Scooby-Doo.
You must mean
Teamo Supremo!
Well, that wasn't very good.
It's not awful, it's just so boring. It rushes through everything and it doesn't have time to properly tell its story or jokes. The animation isn't great, the characters aren't great, and the Halloween factor's not great. I like the idea of a house that every one of the kids believe is haunted, and it certainly has a lot of classic Halloween monsters, but there's not much atmosphere and the story is pretty repetitive. I give the episode a 4 and Halloween factor a 5. If you grew up on the show and like this episode, fine, but I found it very underwhelming. I've seen worse, but so far this is probably the worst episode I've covered this month.
Okay, I had to leave the park because a family showed up, but I think I finally figured this thing out. Look at this. Notice how some of the words that shouldn't be capitalized are, like fought, and that U in countryside. So, let's try something. Let's see. F O U It says fountain. But what fountain? What fountain would it mean? I think. Wait. It's the state song of Pennsylvania. The capital letters spell out fountain. Pennsylvania, capital, fountain. It's the Pennsylvania capital fountain. And good thing too, because if I had to spend any more time in there, I'd probably look like a serial killer or a child abductor.
Like Zoinks?
Zoinks?
Sorry.